If anybody ever has any questions in regards to their credit, they don't have to be somebody who's looking to fix their credit. I work with people who are in the upper sevens trying to get to 800 and then just needed some advice. We do a free assessment and a free consultation, and we'll go over everything that's on your report and explain to you how this is helping or how it's hurting or how you can make it better.
Good afternoon. I'm Kim Elizabeth, and I am here with someone you'll want to meet because they can help you no matter where you are in life. And it is Will Smith, and he is a senior analyst.
Yes.
With the Phenix Group.
Yes, ma'am.
And real quick, I know I'm digressing, but the Phenix Group, where does that name come from? You know what? That is a great question.
If I'd have to ask probably the owner or president of our company where she came up with it.
Okay.
But I think we like to think of it as, like the phoenix, the bird, kind of rising from the ashes.
Yeah. That's what I thought.
Like just new starts, new beginning.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So
yes.
Now that we've told what that might mean, new start, new beginning, tell me what you do.
So my job in our firm is to help people with their credit. As far as we specialize in mortgage qualifications. Most of the people we work with are realtors and lenders and home builders, but basically anybody, if they're looking to improve their credit in some form or fashion, whether they have good credit, they want to make it great, or they're at the basement level and they're just trying to get back on their own 2 feet.
Right.
So we work with everybody all over the country, all over every situation. Our goal is to help them with their credit.
Okay.
Yeah.
And like you said, even people buying a house, they might have what a lot of people would consider really good credit. But if they can get it to great credit,
that's right.
Then that decreases their interest rate and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, certain loans, you have to have certain scores above the normal qualifications, or obviously a better interest rate.
Right.
Obviously saves money, puts it back in their pocket.
Right.
Yeah.
What kind of basic services? Like what's your menu?
Gotcha.
What do you offer?
So we do a lot of things. Obviously, priority number one is improving and removing derogatories off a credit report.
Okay.
So with risk factors, number one risk factors as far as your credit scores, lates, charge-offs, collections, things in public record. So our goal is to help get those removed and alleviated from their report. We also help people build on their credit if they need the help with building trade lines and educating them on how to actually use them. Because there's some good ideas and there's some bad ideas. You can find every idea out there,
I know.
But it's making sure that they know how to use their credit so they're empowered and to use it to the best of their ability.
So what I used to tell my kids, and I don't even know if it's good advice.
Sure.
I've always believed it was, but you're now more knowledgeable than me. I used to tell my kids, like when they're in college, open a credit card.
Yes.
Or we would give them one in our name that they can use.
Yep.
But the sooner they can open one in their name, then only use it for the things they have the money to buy.
That's a great idea. Absolutely. Okay. Like I can tell you, I have 2 sons. They're 20 and 18. And their first card was an authorized user on my wife and I's cards. So we'll start building history. And then they open up their own. And it was basically very simple. It's like you're wanting to show small activity. Right. If you're out there spending a lot of money, you're considered high risk.
Right.
And so, you're keeping your payments on time, but you don't want to max them out. You're paying for the things that you can afford to keep those balances down to show you're a worthy creditor.
Right. So then I hear both sides of this coin. Do they pay it completely off each month, or do they leave a little balance? That
is probably one of the most common questions I have from the people I work with. Because your card or any account is reported to the bureaus 1 day a month. It's typically the same day every month into perpetuity.
Right.
It's your statement date. That is the only date that matters when your bill is due, as far as your balance goes. So I always tell my clients, contact customer service, ask them when your statement date is.
Right.
Obviously keep it paid on time, but on that date, you want the balance down as close to zero as possible without being at zero.
Okay.
If all they see are zeros, it's still positive, but they can't see the activity.
They can't see what you did.
And it's goofy as it is. It's common sense would say, hey, if the balance is zero, it's okay, but they want to see you using it.
Right.
And that gets you the maximum score increase.
Okay. That adds a lot of knowledge to my background, because I was thinking, pay down to $6. Well, that's going to show a balance of $6. Right.
And that's fine.
That is? Okay.
We have found typically the real sweet spot in getting the best score return is somewhere between $10 to $20.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow, that's easy.
Yeah. Normally I tell folks, hey, if this is just for building credit, put your Hulu account on it or your Netflix account, put it on auto draft.
Something you're going to pay anyway.
Yep, just let it run.
Yeah, I tell people just use it for gas.
Yeah,
and then you have the money for that gas, or groceries, whatever you do, but you're not buying expensive things.
Yes. Yeah, don't go out there and now it's time to start buying TVs and buying, electronics and clothes and stuff. I typically tell people try to stay away from the department store cards, because if you've got other revolving lines of credit, you don't really need those. Interest rates are typically higher on them.
Yeah.
But, everybody, it's kind of like once you have the new toy, you like to play with it until you break it.
Right.
And we want to make sure they don't break the toy.
My son, one of my sons was in college, and he had a department store card that he got, and he was really proud that he got that. So he would go charge something to the second floor and pay it off on the first, and I'm like, oh, that's not going to help you for the same reason you just said, because it's not showing the activity.
Exactly.
So it was hard for him to let that go, to not pay it off, because he was afraid, I don't want that.
Well,
I don't want to balance.
They don't teach about this stuff in school.
I know.
So you end up, like I learned the hard way. I went to college and they had booths set up with credit card companies offering credit cards, and you got a free t-shirt. Yeah. I got 3 on the first day I was there, and probably within 6 months, my dad called me and said, where is that card? And I said, it's in my wallet. He said, I want to hear you cut it up right now over the phone. Yeah. Because within 6 to 8 months, I had 3 charge-offs on my credit report, because I figured I got all this magic money here. I want to just spend it before you know it, I couldn't pay off the minimums.
I know. Yeah.
So I learned the hard way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think a lot of people, that happens too.
Sure.
Or they get in a tight spot, so then they use it, and then they realize, I'm out of the tight spot, but I'm now in a tighter spot because I can't. I can't do the.
You're making those minimum payments, and it just covers the interest on what you were just charged that last month. So the balance is going nowhere. Exactly.
So, okay. So tell me walk me through what you do.
Sure, absolutely. So whether somebody's referred to me from a realtor or a mortgage lender, or one of my previous clients, they find us on Google or whatever, when somebody reaches out to us, we start with a simple 10 to 15 minute phone call to discuss their situation. Everybody's credit's different because everybody's gone through different life choices and life situations. Nobody wakes up one morning and just says, I'm not going to pay my bills on time. So if you got sick, you had a divorce, you lost your job, the pandemic. So every situation is different. So we discuss it to make sure it's something we can really help them with. They may just need some advice. I spent multiple phone calls where it's 20, 30 minutes of just saying, hey, this is things that you can address and you can handle. And sometimes the answer is just time. But once we do that, we pull a copy of a report, and then we do a free analysis to determine, okay, these are the things that can be done. This is the game plan, the time frame, the laws, and this is what our cost of service is if you choose to work with us. But we're always giving them free advice and tools that they can continue to work on things themselves. So that's kind of how the progress goes from A to B.
Okay. And then what do you expect from them? Is there a contract? How does that work?
So basically, when somebody determines that they do want to use our services and they qualify for what we do, they do have to hire, because we do partner with a law firm. So they have to sign a limited power attorney so the law firm can represent them, just like with basically another scope of law. They hire our firm. It can be a maximum of a year. Normally, most folks are done way before that because of the process that we use by law. And for clients, there's basically some simple qualifications as far as keeping your open accounts paid on time. Because if we're getting other derogatories removed and you have new ones,
it's
one step forward, one step back. It's staying in contact and communication with me as your point of contact on your file. Making sure that you're not doing some things, like a lot of people will try to dispute items while we're doing audits, which are 2 very different things. A dispute is what a typical repair company does, or they try to do it themselves because they think they have good intentions, and it's just throwing a bunch of information at the bureaus. It does the exact opposite. It'll shut our process down because the bureaus will ignore us and only respond to the dispute. So it's some very simple things, but unfortunately I've been doing this for a long time, and there's still some clients that you have to remind them more than once to get things done, and it will slow down our process.
Yeah, I mean, life is overwhelming. And there's people, even myself, there's times where you get overwhelmed and you're bogged down. And so it's hard to just focus on the baby steps. Do this first step, do this next step, because so many things are coming at you.
Absolutely. And it's, nobody's credit goes poor overnight, so it takes some time to get it back to where you want it to be. Before I was in this industry, I was in education for about 15 years. And I taught infants all the way up to high school. I was in administration, and so I still get to educate. And sometimes it's like I'm educating people that have no experience in this, have never done it before, and that's completely fine. So we have repeat things, and we'll hold hands and we'll walk them through it. It's a learning process.
Yeah. Do you have a set thing that you do for everybody, or is it like you did say it was kind of individual also?
So as far as our services with the firm, when we go and we audit different accounts, there are different laws that we will apply, different verbiage depending on responses back. My job is very consistent with everybody as far as I am keeping them advised of the process. I am giving them advice on how to continue to work on improving their credit themselves. I like to think that my customer service is very even keeled for everybody. You know, you're investing into us to take care of something that's very important, your credit. I don't treat that lightly. And so my goal to be there for my clients whenever they have questions, if it's evening, if it's weekend, give me a call, shoot me an email, and you'll typically hear back from me in less than 24 hours.
Right.
Because I want to make sure that everything goes forward as smoothly and quickly as possible so that you get the best results through our process.
Well, I have another question.
Sure.
So earlier you said you pull their credit. Okay, is this gonna make a derogatory remark?
Awesome question. Yeah, and because we're not a lender, we don't pull like a hard inquiry.
Okay.
We'll typically use a monitoring site like Experian.com.
Okay.
So there are some good sites, there are some bad sites. I'll tell anybody, if you're using Credit Karma, stop now. This is not a good site, but there are some excellent sites. Experian is a very good site because it provides all three bureaus and it uses the FICO models. Most importantly, it gives us good content so that we can customize a game plan for them.
Yeah.
But yeah, we don't want to add anything derogatory that's getting us further from the goal.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, that's my next question. Oh, and I just forgot it. So Experian.
Yes.
Oh, that's what it is. I remember. They have a paid service.
They do.
And then they have a free service. So people will all say, you need to go on Experian, you need to check your credit. Before we ever get to talking to you.
Exactly.
Right? Because I need to know, they're wanting to contact a lender.
Yeah.
But they're afraid their credit's awful. And I'm like, or maybe it's a rental and they're afraid to apply and spend that money and their credit isn't good, they don't have a good score or whatever. So I'm like, go on Experian and check. Well, then they'll call me and say, do I have to pay the whatever per month? And usually I tell them it's free, but what is what do you recommend?
So normally when we do it, there's some tricks that Experian doesn't let you know. If you sign up for the membership, it's $1 trial, but as long as you cancel within the first week, they're not charging you anything. What they don't tell you is that as long as you keep it like that, and there's a card on file, but it's not being ran, every 30 to 60 days, you can refresh it for free. And you can get all three bureaus, and you can see the updated scores. The free one with Experian is fine, but you only receive Experian.
Yes.
But this little trick that you can do like you refresh it every 30, 60 days, you can get all three of them.
Okay.
Now, hopefully Experian doesn't see this and they don't change it, but yeah, that's what I've been doing for the last 10 years, is that little process.
So refreshing it, you don't mean saying like, okay, I want it and then canceling again?
Yes, typically you go in because otherwise after a week, the trial period becomes their regular membership.
And you don't want to pay
the
regular.
If there's no point in paying $30 a month.
$30.
It is $30.
Okay, I thought it was $25.
Yeah, well, I think it's gone up. I think they just recently did that. But this way, if you want to wait 30 days, because most credit activity, it takes about 30 days for something realistically to take place.
Okay.
And so every 30 days, you can just go back in, reactivate it, cancel it again. And that way you're seeing all the same information, but you're keeping your money in your pocket.
Okay. Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. That's good for me.
Yeah.
Good for me to know, because sometimes I'm waiting for someone to hit a score. They're close. We're waiting so that they can get the better rate or whatever, qualify. And we know the reporting date. And then they're like, I don't know how to get my scores.
Yeah. Well, that's the biggest thing, is that knowing where to get your scores and what sites to trust. One of the reasons we don't recommend Credit Karma or any site that uses Vantage, because no lenders use Vantage. All lenders use FICO.
Okay.
And Vantage is typically going to be inflated over your legitimate scores, because I can't tell you how many people have told me, I looked at Credit Karma and it told me I was 680 and I went to a lender and I was 600.
I know.
So we was making sure that they use a FICO model. They're consumer sites, so they're never going to be 100% accurate, but they will typically be very close.
Okay. So what other things do you recommend people do? like before they even call
Sure.
you, or?
Well, because I'm going to get nosy and I'm going to ask some questions. So the biggest thing for most people is when you have credit issues, nobody likes to talk to a stranger about their credit. Is you just got to be prepared to be honest and be upfront, because my job is to help people. I'm not, trust me, I've been there and done that. Like I said, I messed up my credit at 19, so I know what this is like. I know what it feels like to have bad credit. So my goal is to make it better, but you got to be willing to tell me the truth. There are multiple times that people will claim something and say that, hey, you know, how's your current finances? Because that's going to be a big key to helping build credit. And I'm doing okay. And then I pull up your report and you're actually consistently late on your auto or your credit cards. And at this point in time, it's not a credit issue, it's a finance issue. So can we talk about ways to restructure your budget? You may have to cut out cable for 5-6 months so that we can get everything done. It's a sacrifice, but how important is it to you? Yeah. And then just knowing, obviously, when we talk about budget, I've had people tell me they don't know what their budget is. That's it's obviously for you, and for a lender, you have to know somebody's budget, or they're going to qualify in underwriting. So we work on all those things to make sure that they really are teed up and they really can purchase a home.
So, you're not a consolidation company.
No, we are not.
Because sometimes when I talk to people about, maybe you should, just have a conversation with Will Smith, and they're like, oh, we did that, and it was terrible. And even back in the whenever, and I'm not dogging consolidation companies, but they're trying to repair their credit, so that the company they talked to wanted them to consolidate everything, and then it just didn't work for them.
Here's the reality with debt consolidation. It is a good fit for some people. Just like, sometimes bankruptcy is a good fit for certain people, depending on your situation and where you are in life. With debt consolidation, what happens is that typically these accounts are still open and active accounts, but you're having a hard time making the minimum payments. If you do debt consolidation, you're making payments to that company while they're allowing all those accounts to go bad and go into charge-off status, which is as damaged as an account can be. So now you've had accounts that, maybe I had a late here or there, or the balances are high. Now they're absolutely just damaged and shot. And it takes some time to get to that position. So every month when it's going derogatory, your scores are going lower and lower and lower. Once it is finally charged off, then that company, with the money you've paid them, will reach out and start working to settle the amount. At that point in time, it's settled, but it's now a paid charge off on your credit report. So your debt is much better, it's much more improved, but your credit scores are still going to be in the exact same position. And what they don't tell people is that if you do save more than $600, that's considered earned income, and they can send you a 1099 and you have to pay taxes on it. So you may still save some money, but it's not going to be as much as you thought. It takes many years, and then they come out of it with their credit in a really bad position. So there are some other things, options, like with certain creditors that have insurance protection, that you can invoke that. You can always talk to a company and see about remodification. The worst thing they're going to tell you is no. And when it comes down to it, if you do want to actually wait for it to charge off and settle, you can always do that yourself. It is negotiation back and forth, and people are uncomfortable with that. But I'm kind of like, why do I want to pay somebody else when as long as I'm willing to have the difficult conversations, I can do this myself.
And also, when you were talking about like charge-offs and that kind of thing, well, I occasionally do rentals. So when I have rental people, they come in and they do background credit checks. And it shows all those. And, when I say something, they're like, oh, that's still on there? I know, that was taken care of, it was taken care of. It says it was because it was a charge-off.
Exactly. What some people aren't aware of is that obviously you have your regular consumer reports, but especially like for apartment leases or for mortgages, you pull from other areas like LexisNexis, check systems. There's different areas that actually research other parts of your background that you either thought they went away, or because it wasn't on my credit report, it didn't really happen, but it will come back to bite you in other areas.
Well, that brings us to something that I'm always curious about, and I'm sure other people are. Student loans. Student loans,
yes. Student loans right now are obviously, they've been in the news for quite some time. Obviously, when it comes down to student loans, the first thing I always tell people is, because they've asked me, is there any way that I don't have to pay this? The answer is not right now. Eventually, Uncle Sam is going to get his money. There are different programs they have out there, like the SAVE program, where you're making lower payments, and as long as you're consistent with them, they will eventually forfeit out or basically waive some of the money that you owe, but there's no way out there that's going to, until the government makes a change, that you're just going to have your student loan debt forgiven.
Right.
And it does factor in, it factors in a little bit differently, but it does factor into your debt to income ratio.
Okay.
Our biggest concern when we look at a credit report when it comes to student loans is there any previous late pays? Is it in default? Because that's derogatory verbiage that hurts your score.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And there's different things like consolidations. Consolidations can help your score for some tricky algorithms as well. But when people ask me, hey, do I have to pay this back? The answer for that one is most definitely, because otherwise they will come after you in other forms or fashions that you don't like.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And I guess it comes up the most with people who are thinking of buying their first home.
Sure.
And they're like, oh, we both have student loans. But it's really only counts as a percent.
That's correct, yes.
Okay.
I know just enough about mortgages to get me in trouble.
No,
but,
yeah, we don't have to talk about it. I'm not that
but yeah, I do know
knowledgeable.
it factors in, not to the same degree as like your open active debt.
Right,
Yes.
right.
That's correct.
Okay, so tell me something. What are the most common misconceptions?
Excellent. So obviously, if I'm on social media, on TikTok or Instagram and stuff, because of the information I will have out there, I get some of the same feedback about how to fix your credit in 14 days, or these simple steps to get you from a 500 to a 700. It's kind of like if I said, well, I want 5-minute abs. There's work involved. Things like freezing your personal information and then trying to do disputes, or purchasing trade lines. These are all kind of tactics that even short term may provide you some results. But in the end, it's really not. For example, with the freezing of your personal information, and you try to dispute stuff, so it basically will block it or hide it or possibly remove it. Well, when you unfreeze your information, when you try to use it for a loan, guess what? All that stuff is going to flood right back. So it's basically a temporary fix until you really want to use your credit.
Okay.
Things like having you put on as an authorized user with a family or friend, that's completely fine. You're more than welcome to, because it's with somebody you know. And there are companies out there that will sell trade lines. Technically, it's fraud.
And what's a trade line?
We're basically like a credit card, where these companies will say, hey, we'll sell to you for the next 6 months an American Express that's unlimited, that has like a $100 balance, and it's got over 20 years of age to it.
Okay.
So you're purchasing to get them to put that on your credit report. That is fraud.
Wow, I've not even heard of that before.
You got to dig for that, but those are some tactics that you'll see online.
Okay.
As far as, just dispute everything. Just dispute your information. Well, the bureaus, when they receive a dispute, all they do is forward that to the company who's reporting it. They use a computer system. All that company has to do is respond back. They don't have to prove anything.
Right.
So you just dispute it every 30 to 45 days, again and again and again, hoping that eventually they don't respond, and then it can be deleted. But because they didn't have to prove any actual documentation for what they're reporting, they can sell it to somebody else and put it back on your report. They can wait the next reporting cycle and re-report it themselves.
I thought, I guess maybe I've read or something, that when you dispute, you can say, prove that was, right. I did that.
Yep.
Is that a dispute?
That is the letter of the law.
Okay.
Under the Fair Credit Reporting Act. You can dispute saying, I'm claiming that this is inaccurate, and it technically should be proven. The problem with it is that, and there's been studies showing that the bureaus are inaccurate with what they provide reported over 70 to 80% of the time, because they are private companies and they are for profit. So a creditor or a collection agency is paying them, and then every month they're through computer systems reporting what information to put on the report. There's no proof that they have to provide to the bureaus. And so when they send that, all that company, when they receive the dispute, all they have to respond back with is saying, no, we've investigated it and the information we're providing is correct. As long as they do that within what's considered a reasonable amount of time of 30 to 45 days, the bureaus 99.9% of the time will side with them, unless it's like identity theft. And you can prove, like with a theft report for the police department. But otherwise, as long as they respond, because the bureaus, for them, they want to continue to get paid.
Right.
And then it's kind of like, okay, well, I'll dispute it again and again and again. And you're still kind of stuck in the same position.
Okay. So what do you do?
So what we do is besides the Fair Credit Reporting Act, there's some other laws that we leverage as well.
Okay.
And what we're doing is applying those laws adequately with the correct verbiage that enforces that both the bureaus and the companies themselves, whoever's the data furnisher, they have to actually provide this documentation because consumers can request it.
Okay.
So we go after the bureaus and we go after the company as well.
Okay.
typically because of age, the way things are reported, if they're sold from one company to another, they don't continue to keep all the documentation as they're supposed to, or we often find out that it's been manipulated. So like, for example, an old charge off from say 4 or 5 years ago is is sold to a collection company and they put it on your report this last year.
Right.
That makes an older debt newer.
Right.
Or they'll start adding more fees and penalties to it.
Right.
In the hopes of getting more out of you in a settlement. So as we audit them in our process, they have to provide all that documentation and prove that it's not being reported incorrectly. Typically, it's going to be one or the other. And when that is the case, we give them 2 choices to either delete it, and they cannot re-report it. They can always ask for the money. They can send you letters in the mail. Right. But if they are reporting it, then they are subject to legal action because they're violating your consumer rights. Okay. So they can be sued for punitive damages and statutory damages, which is one of the big reasons we do work with a law firm, is that we very rarely have to go to that stage. Yeah. But because that's that backing, there's kind of a consequence if you don't do your job correctly. So that's what we do.
So there's a lot of legal stuff.
Exactly. I tell people, because we'll go through it and I'll explain everything as far as the process goes, but what I tell them is you don't want me to be the person to work on your file. We have an in-depth research team that has decades upon decades of research and knowledge and ability that with changing laws, because laws always change, especially like, for example, when the pandemic hit and they created the CARES Act, it changed our process completely. But these people are the ones who are staying on top of all the laws. They educate us as well. On a monthly basis, we'll meet and we'll continue to do our continuing education. But they're the ones that actually apply the laws and fashion it with the verbiage that enforces them to respond. They build the case file. They apply the previous court cases as precedent to enforce that if you don't adhere to this, then you fall under that case. So they are exceptional at what they do. I get all the credit, but they're the ones that do all the real work.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So, tell me what you like best about the part that you do.
What I like best is it's multiple things. One thing is I like to teach. I like to educate because I was an educator for so long. And I like it when people when we have a conversation and they're like, I did not know that. Or I appreciate that you explained that to me every question I was going to have. That means I'm doing my job correctly. Right. I like that. The most exciting or the best thing is the result. When somebody has their credit restored, they can purchase their home. Yeah. I had a gentleman that just got his brand new truck of his dreams a couple months ago. Yeah. It had all the bells and whistles and things like that. It was the payment's about like a mortgage, but that's what he wanted. Like the best example is I had a mom and a daughter down near Houston about 2 years ago, and through just previous life experiences and things like that, they had some difficult times. And their credit was in a really, really bad place. And we worked with them for about 8 to 10 months, and there were some ups and downs and some valleys and mountains. But at the end, and she was also dealing with a terminal cancer. But her goal was that she was going to buy this house and leave it in her daughter's name so that there was a legacy and starting to build financial wealth for the family. Right. And the day that they approved for their loan and the phone call I got, and all 3 of us were crying on the phone when that was all said and done. Right. And that makes it worth it, no matter every phone call, everything that we walk through, any struggle or frustrations. That makes it easier once we get phone calls like that. Yeah.
I have a few clients that successfully repaired their credit and bought homes. Yeah. And it's amazing how grateful they are for the assistance and.
Well, I was going to say, you see it on a daily basis. The American dream is to own a home. And it's one of the greatest appreciators of value that anybody's ever going to have. And just the thing about, I'm going to pay a mortgage, but I want to pay for my own mortgage and not somebody else's. Right. So when you get to walk them into their home, if it's their starter home or if it's the home of their dreams, you get to see them accomplish something that a lot of people didn't think they were ever going to accomplish. And it's it's probably the biggest purchase most people are ever going to make in their lives. Right. So it's very serious, but it's so rewarding to see people do that.
Yeah. It is. It is. It's rewarding. It's also rewarding when I get the call from you that, my clients now are ready and they can actually buy.
I like that call as well because obviously the people that work with us as far as referral partners, they trust us and they put their name on our work. That's a very serious thing. Right. Because number one, it's your business that we're helping to succeed. And if it doesn't succeed, then it makes your life much more difficult. And so we want all of our business partners to succeed and grow and thrive and improve with as far as their business goes. We want to be a big part of that. We definitely don't want to be a detriment to it.
Yeah.
So that's always it's a very important thing with what I do to make sure that I'm not just representing me or the Phenix Group, but I'm representing Kim, and I'm representing this lender, and I'm representing this home builder to make sure that they're achieving their goals as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's important. Because when I do recommend somebody, I want it to be somebody, and I'll tell you, if it's somebody I don't know, this is just people say they're great.
Sure.
Or if it's somebody that I have worked with and I'm confident that they'll, be able to do a good job for them.
I mean, I look at it this way. Typically, my wife and I, when we go out to dinner, we're going to ask somebody on Facebook, hey, have you ever been here before? What do you know about it?
Right.
Or we're going to check out the reviews, or we're going to do both.
Right.
And typically somebody's like, oh, that place was no good. You don't want to go there. Okay, probably not going to. Especially if I'm looking to say the review is 3 stars out of 5.
Right.
Well, if the person I know didn't like it, and all these other people don't like it, I think I'll just go ahead and skip that.
Right.
Yeah. And so if it's something like that, like just dinner, how much more important is it as far as your finances, your credit, home purchase, the people you work with? Those are very important sources.
Yeah. It's one of the basics.
Yes, absolutely. Word of mouth means more than just about anything else. It's so important.
Credit and taxes.
Yep. Yeah, we just finished ours not too long ago and going through everything. And now my son, this is his second year that he has to file taxes. And last year, Dad kind of did most of it for him. But this year he actually has to sit down with Dad and learn how to do it for himself. It's not difficult,
No, not especially when you're starting out.
Yeah, but it's just actually learning, okay, this is what you file, and if you've got any deductions that you can apply for yourself, make sure you're doing it appropriately, things like that, so that he can learn, so that when he does take it on full bore by himself, again, it's like things you know and things you don't know.
Right.
You don't want to learn the hard way, so how about we learn the easy way?
Right. So how can people reach you?
So there's a lot of ways that you can reach out. Obviously, just directly by phone call, 469-200-3071. I've got that memorized by heart. You can also check us out online. Our website is thephenixgroup.com. We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram. I have my personal business page, which is called Your Credit Medic. Will Smith.
Neat.
Absolutely, yes. I've kind of branded myself over the last decade or so that people was kind of catchy. My brother actually owns a landscaping company called Lawn Medic. And about 10 years ago, I said, I'm going to steal that from you.
Right.
So yes, so you can always find me on Facebook or any, like if you Google just credit repair, the Phenix Group, you'll find us there as well.
So when I refer people, I usually give them your direct.
Yes.
And if they just call, are they just going to get?
No, if they call my number, they're going to get me. Okay. And then I will ask, okay, so because they'll say I was referred by somebody, and so I'll make sure it's yours, because we're very sincere about when somebody's referred to us that they get back to that person.
Okay.
Somebody you refer to me, they're not going to anybody else.
Right.
Whoever brought them to the dance, they're going to finish the dance with.
Okay.
And so we make sure that we keep you in the loop as well as far as how your clients are doing with us. If they chose to use our services, if they don't need our service, they just need some advice, or I'm going to touch base with them in about 3 months. My job as your resource is to funnel those people back to you, because you're an expert in the real estate industry. Your job is to be excellent at that. My job is to be your resource for credit and hold their hand and get them back to you so you can do what you do so well.
Yeah. Which is help people.
Absolutely. Right.
So my whole goal is to help them.
Yep.
And so I like to hear when, I can help them better because now they've repaired their credit.
Sure. And I tell people, we're in an industry to help people. And when I know that you're ready to help them actually achieve their dream of homeownership, I definitely send them your way. And if you think there's somebody I can help with their credit, then that's when you refer them over to me.
Yeah.
It works both ways.
A lot of realtors don't work with rentals. But because I have people that buy homes to become rentals.
That's right.
Then if they want me to, I'll help them rent that home. Well, it's not the same as selling or buying property.
Sure.
But that way I can help them get ready to be a homeowner.
Yeah.
Because nobody wants to, like you said, well, I shouldn't say nobody.
This is true.
Most people don't want to pay someone else's mortgage for the rest of it.
Right. Well, I think obviously you, like you said, about the opportunity to help people, but it's also building and establishing that relationship, because maybe you do help them assist in their renting, and then the next time you are helping them build as far as purchasing their home. And most importantly, anybody that they know that's going to be in those same predicaments, who do you think they're going to refer? They're going to send them to you because of what a great job you did helping them through each stage and achieving those goals that they wanted to.
Yeah.
That's the whole purpose of it, is to help people achieve so that they can tell other people how awesome you are.
Yeah, and you too.
Yes, absolutely.
So is there anything we haven't talked about that you would like to talk about?
Well, not really, other than if anybody ever has any questions in regards to their credit, they don't have to be somebody who's looking to fix their credit. I work with people who are in the upper 7s trying to get to 800 and then just needed some advice. We do a free assessment and a free consultation, and we'll go over everything that's on your report and explain to you how this is helping or how it's hurting or how you can make it better. We're here to assist people so that they can achieve their ultimate goals with their credit, whatever that may be.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's me too. I do the same thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're kind of my client for life. And if you're not my client yet,
Right.
If you just have questions and want to kind of know what direction to go, I'm there for that too.
Oh, as I say, you are phenomenal at that. So absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much.
No, thank you. It's been my privilege.
I enjoyed this.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Okay. Bye.